Good morning, guys. Right, Sunday morning. That week has absolutely flown by. Um, right, for those of you that just joining, my name's Karen. I'm 56 years old, live in the West Midlands, Birmingham if you can't tell. I've been on a total weight loss journey now for the last 4 years, 5 years almost. I was diagnosed type 2 diabetic 5 years ago. And at my heaviest at that point, then I was weighing 15 stone, which is 210 pounds, and I'll pop the kilos up in the description. At that point, being diagnosed type 2 diabetic, I didn't have a clue. If I'm perfectly honest, I had absolutely no idea what it meant. I recall being told previously, a couple of years before, that I was pre-diabetic, and that was it. That I would literally, the conversation lasted 2 minutes with the doctor. It was a case of, oh yeah, your blood work's come back, pre-diabetic, end of. No information, no. I wish now, and I know, I get it, I understand why, but I really do wish that that doctor had turned around to me and went, you are extremely obese, you're overweight, you've got A, B, C, D, and if you do not do something now, you are shortening your life. I get why they can't do that, but I needed a wake-up call. I needed somebody to pick me up and shake me and say, what are you doing to your life? But no, it was just a case of, there you go. And I literally dismissed it the minute I walked out. If she'd have turned around and said, you're fat, do something about it, I'd have been extremely angry. But it would have made me think. But that's a long time ago. So pretty much the same thing happened when I then went back to be told that I am diabetic. Now, I now know and I now understand my numbers. I was extreme. Just for content, pre-diabetes is under 42. Between 42 and, no, that's wrong, sorry. Non-diabetic is under 42. And your blood work, realistically, for a good healthy person, should be well into the 30s. So if you're creeping up at the 38, 39, you're heading towards pre-diabetes. 42 to 48 is pre-diabetic. And then once you get over 48, you're then diabetic. I was over 100. I believe it was something like 109, something like that. So double. But they never gave me my numbers. They never told me what that number actually meant and where it should be and what it. I was just told, yeah, you're diabetic, you take these medication. That was it, literally. I remember getting on a Zoom call with a dietitian. Say a dietitian, but yeah, it was a don't eat bread, don't eat rice, lower your carbs, and that's it. I don't remember being given a pamphlet. I don't recall being given any real proper nutritional advice. So I just took the medication and carried on. Like all of us, I've been on weight loss journeys, diets, for decades. Since my mid-20s at least, my early 20s not so much, but mid-20s definitely onwards. So, I knew I was overweight, but I really didn't understand how drastically overweight I was. I think I suppose it's a form of body dysmorphia in the sense that I just didn't see how big I was. I knew I was big, but I didn't see it. But moving on forward, the medications that I was being put on for regular diabetes It's basically what everyone gets put on. Glycoside initially for me because my numbers were so high to bring it down, and then eventually I got put onto metformin. And slowly over the last 3 years, 4 years, I did start to lose some weight. Now, part of that was purposely being mindful of my food. I stopped following diets a long time ago, but I do calorie count and just being aware of what I was eating. And I would lose around 20 pounds or so. I typically start a diet in January, and then slowly start falling off. But on average, I was losing about 20 pounds throughout the year. And then I was maintaining it. I was keeping that. And then the following year, I'd kickstart it again and lose another 20 pounds. So slowly over the last couple of years, in total, I've managed to lose around 40 pounds. So 3 stone, that's 42 pounds. And then summer of last year, I started looking into other ways. My weight loss had stalled. I was still trying, but I was still I was just stalled. The medication that I was on for the diabetes was most likely helping to keep it at a stable level, but it wasn't helping me lose any more weight. But also the metformin was beginning to do a number on me. I mean, I've documented this previously, so if you want to go back to my story, at the beginning, my first vlog, I do explain the whole metformin. But basically, it was doing a number on me. I really just didn't want to take it anymore. I was looking for alternatives, and I knew the best alternative that I could have would be to lose weight. At this point, I brought my numbers down to 53, 54, which for a diabetic is reasonable numbers. It basically means it's being managed. It's still not under or what a regular person should be. So again, I started to look for alternatives. I started to look at different ways that I could maybe improve my own dieting. Just calorie counting alone wasn't really cutting it. I'm intelligent enough to understand how to work out calories, but it doesn't stop you from eating the piece of cake at the end of the day. So I started initially looking into intermittent fasting. I'd read some really good stuff on it. I'd done a lot of research, and I thought I was going to give that a go. So I did. October-ish, I started intermittent fasting. I did I think it's 16/8. So I was having my breakfast around 10 in the morning, which wasn't too bad because I was never a breakfast person anyway. So I was always somebody that would start sort of brunch and then just continue eating for the rest of the day. So breakfast was fine. And then I would have an evening meal prior to 6 o'clock, stop eating at 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. that is, and then go through, which was my main snacking period. I would have a reasonably healthy food throughout the day, but then I would just eat a load of rubbish and crap all night. Crisps, biscuits, chocolate, anything. And my evening meal was always too big. I'd eat a whole pizza instead of sharing half a pizza. But portion control. So I was still having a big evening meal, but I was stopping at 6 o'clock. I mean, to be fair, I had to go cold turkey on it because at this point I wasn't on anything else. But I did find after a couple of days almost that snacking just stopped naturally. And I think it is purely down to the carb cravings. So I do believe if you reduce your carbs, you will reduce your carb craving. However, that's a vicious circle and it is really difficult to do. So just to say, just stop eating carbs doesn't cut it for most people. Totally get that. So alongside the intermittent fasting, I also came across the GLP-1 zone. Started watching YouTubers looking into it, doing much more research on it, especially around the diabetes side. But also thought chances of me actually getting it, because my numbers were manageable now, was going to be a bit. But I thought, you know what, if I don't go and ask, I don't get. So I did my research. I went armed to the doctors and I basically said, look, I want to go on this. Second to that, the metformin that I was on was causing me some real problems. I just physically could not take it anymore. It was absolutely tearing my insides apart. And that's no exaggeration. It was horrible. So eventually I did get it prescribed on the NHS after a little to and fro in, and fighting my corner. I really had to go in and fight my corner. So I got it prescribed. So ever since end of November, prescribed my Mounjaro, and I've been on that ever since. So I'm coming up to 6 months. I will be doing a complete full 6 month review in a couple of weeks' time. I think I'm at the end of week 24 now. It'll be in the title. I've lost track, to be perfectly honest. And I'm just about coming up to the 2 stone down. So it took me 3 years to lose the initial first 3 stone. And it's taken me 6 months to lose an additional 2 stone. So I am losing a lot slower than everybody else, but I'm on the second half of my journey. I didn't start this with 7 stone to lose. I started it with 3, maybe 4 stone to lose. So that's where I am now. Like I said, I am going to do a complete full update at my 6 month point. I do have a doctor's appointment next week, of which I'm going to go and get all my bloods redone. So it'll be really interesting to see what the 6 months on Mounjaro has actually done to my HbA1c. I would love to be able to put my diabetes into remission. Now, losing the weight will help me do that, and also Mounjaro helps do that. I want to be able to come off I am on another diabetic drug, which I take alongside Mounjaro, so I want to be able to come off that eventually. So that's a bit of my backstory. I know I haven't touched on it for a while, but there's a little bit more if you do want to know about it in my very first vlog as to where I started from and how I got onto the Mounjaro in the first place. So as you've previously seen in other videos, I've got pretty much no updates from this week. I've done no food vlogs, I've done no shopping hauls, I haven't even filmed in the gym. I have been back to the gym. I went back on Saturday. My gym actually closed for a few days to do a bit of a refurb, so we were forced not to go, but I actually enjoyed the rest. So I've been able to get my steps in. I've managed to go out for a bit of walk. The weathers are improving as well here, so that's helped. Back in the gym yesterday, did a full workout, got a PB. Finally, my son and myself, we've been trying to push our chest press for the last 3-4 weeks or so. So I finally managed to get my full 3 sets of 10 reps in. Only 25k, but it's 25k, so I'm going to be moving up on that one to 27.5, I think the next up is. So really pleased with that. Really had a really good workout, so looking forward to picking that back up again. Scale this week. I have weighed in. I actually weighed in yesterday. I haven't weighed in today. I normally do weigh on a Sunday, but I weighed in on a Saturday. Now, purely for, let's say, selfish reasons, we went out for a meal last night, which we don't do very often. It's a rarity. It's actually my son's birthday today, so we went out for a meal last night. And we decided to go for a curry. I have not had one for well, it was actually 6 months ago, just as I started Mounjaro. We had a takeaway then. And I wanted to enjoy it. And I also knew that it would be quite carb heavy, because I do like to have a naan and rice. I didn't have alcohol because I was designated driver, so that was fine. But I also knew that getting on the scales this morning, it may have a little bit of water weight, and I wanted a more accurate. So I decided to weigh yesterday. So last week I weighed in at 143.7 pounds. I'll do the conversions as well. And this week I've weighed in 142.4, which is a loss of 1.3 pounds, which I was actually quite surprised about. I maintained last week. And those of you that have followed me for a while, you know, I actually maintain, I would say at least once a month I will maintain, or I will only lose like 0.2 or 0.3. And then a couple of weeks later, I'll drop nearer £2, or I think a couple of weeks ago I lost just shy of £3. I mean, that's unheard of for me. So I'm not a linear loser by any means. I stay the same, hover around the same for a couple of weeks, and then I'll drop. So the classed as a whoosh loser. So, and again, like I said, I'm at the latter side of the weight loss that I need. I don't have the big numbers to lose anymore. And also the diabetes actually makes me lose less. That's not right, but I'm a slower loser. Let's put it that way. So plans for next week. Basically rinse and repeat. I've got a good pattern going on now. I eat well. I do track all my food. I track every single morsel that goes in. I don't track my water, which I should do. So I am keeping in a calorie deficit. I have also increased my calories a little bit. I think over this last week, I've most likely had maybe only a couple of hundred more over the whole week. But I am consciously trying to up my calories a little bit, because I think I was eating a little bit too little. That does slow your metabolism down, and it does slow your weight loss. Yes, I understand starvation mode is not accurate the way it used to be, but anybody that is on this journey knows you go through stalls. Your body stops losing weight. It holds on to what it can, and then a couple of weeks' time, it then sort of goes, okay, we can continue to lose weight. Your body doesn't want to lose weight. You're fighting it all the time. Your body wants to keep homeostasis. It wants to keep you nice and fat, nice and energized, all that storage just in case. So you will have stalls, and you just have to ride them out. Your body will catch up. Sometimes you can shock your body slightly and just maybe up your calories a little bit, which is what I've done. So it's sort of not falsely, but sort of lulls it into a false sense of security that you're not starving, that there are calories available, and that it's okay to start dropping a little bit more weight again. So if anyone does get a stall, it is perfectly natural, but you do have to ride it out. And 9 times out of 10, you just have to white knuckle it. It's unfortunate, but you just got to play through it, and eventually it will kickstart. For some people, they can up their exercise, up their calorie outtake. We're not all there to be able to do that. So you do need to be just mindful of that. So yeah, not much of an actual update for me this week. So it's going to be a really short video for me anyway. By the time I've cut this out, hopefully we'll be at about 15 minutes. But yeah, next week, exactly the same. Rinse and repeat. a couple of times back in the gym. I will try and get some food. I didn't even take a picture of my dinner last night, and it was a lovely curry. And I brought at least 3/4 of it back home. So I'll be having it again today. But it's a one-off. It's a treat. We all deserve treats. You cannot white knuckle this all the way through. You've got to look after yourself, and that includes your mental health, and that includes treating yourself occasionally, you know, but it just needs to be occasionally, and you need to be mindful of it. It's not a bad calorie day in that sense. You spread it out over a whole week, and you've got to be kind to yourself. You've got to be able to sustainably live this life for the rest of your life. You know, we don't stay with diets. We don't stick to diets because diets in the long run do not work. Any restriction does not work. If you are restricting because something doesn't work for you, say you've got a gluten intolerance, then that's fine. You will need to do that for life anyway. But if you're restricting because you think it's a good diet to follow, just fast forward. Can your slim you in a year, 2 years time still eat like that? Realistically, you know, is it something that you really want to continue and eat like for the rest of your life? And if it's not, then maybe some adjustment needs to be done. We all need to live in the real world. But okay, that's me off my soapbox. If you're still with me, what are we, 20 minutes in? If you're still with me, then I would love, if you haven't done already, for you to subscribe to my channel. There are loads and loads and loads and loads of new guys coming on board. I'm seeing comments in my comments with new people coming on board. There is a new guy that I've just found, Dal. I will pop his channel in somewhere down here. He could really do with some support. He's just started, and yeah, I would really love it if you could just pop over to his channel, give him a subscribe, give him a thumbs up, and let's see if we can grow a nice community for him. And on that note, I'm going to leave you to it. I know I've waffled. It's really early on a Sunday morning. I'm not sleeping properly, so I've still been up since 5:30. I really do need, anybody's got any sleeping tips out there, I would love them. I don't know what's going on. I do take additional magnesium. I've just brought myself blackout blind. I'm trying everything possible to get a decent night's sleep, and it's not working. Occasionally I'll get a good night, but most of the time it's just not working. I'm surviving on 5-6 hours sleep at the moment, and I am just about surviving on it. So any hints and tips out there, please pop them in the comments. And on that note, I will see you again next Sunday. There will be an update on my blood work, so I should have the results in by next. I'm positive I'll have the results back in by next weekend. So fingers crossed for that I can get some good numbers, or at least see them coming in the right direction. I don't know if 6 months is going to be enough to bring it down, or it's going to take 3 years. Don't know. But hopefully with nearly 2 stone weight loss, that alone, regardless of the Mounjaro, that should be really helping. So we'll see. But that will be my update next week. Hope you all have an absolutely fantastic week, and that you're losing what you want to be losing. It's coming up to holiday season, so there's a lot of people that are preparing to go on holiday. I go myself in another 3 weeks, I think it is. 3 weeks and 2 days. Not that I'm counting. I am going to take my shot before I go. We fly on a Tuesday. I'm going to take my jab on the Tuesday morning. So it will be in my system pretty much for the week while I'm out there. I'm hoping it will help me not overeat, because I would have gone overboard and I would have just stuffed myself stupid for a whole week. So I'm hoping it will help to curb my appetite. But I'm on holiday and I'm going to have a few drinks. I'm going to have cocktails. I'm going to be out till 2 o'clock in the morning, and not necessarily looking after my health for a week. I'm not going to track. I'm just going to have a week off. And what will happen will happen. I'll be back on it when I get back. I'm just going to go and have a really good holiday. It's as simple as that. I've been really strict on myself for 6 months, so I am going to let loose for a week. I get some people are not doing that, and then others will. So each to their own and what you're comfortable with. But I would say we all deserve a treat. We all deserve some time off occasionally. And you know what? That's what naturally skinny people do. Bizarrely, they do overeat occasionally. They just don't do it all the time. So anyway, right, on that note, I'm off. I will catch you all next Sunday. Make sure what day I'm in. Catch you all next Sunday. And hopefully your journeys are going as well as you want them to. Bye for now. Oh my